Hey, we're back. This is John.
It's Paul.
And it's Eric.
And it's What If Geeks. And we are here with chapter 6 of Book of Boba Fett. Finally. We're now that the show's over, we're gonna catch up with our reviews tonight. So which I guess is kind of cool. All right. So yeah. If you missed the last chapter, hopefully you've watched everything by now. The Book of Mandalorian was really good. And things get almost no better here. We got well, we'll get to it. So, okay, this episode 6 is titled "From the Desert Comes a Stranger," directed by Dave Filoni and written by Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni.
Yeah, this is the only one where Filoni had a writing credit. I think it'll be no surprise why once we start talking about it. But
yeah. So yeah, I don't think we can do anything for the rest of these 2 episodes without spoiling everything. So spoiler alert, there, it's over. So just go from there. So general thoughts after watching 6.
I'm glad Boba Fett was at least in this one, if even for a minute. I think he had a line.
I think he might have had 2 lines total, but yeah, I'm glad he was here.
It's feeling like, the original Star Wars, the 3, A New Hope and Empire and Jedi, where you just get a glimpse of Boba Fett and you're like, oh right, he's super tough, but has done nothing to earn that reputation. But at least he's in this one, better than last time.
Yeah. Eric?
Yeah, same. I mean, this felt like another Mandalorian season 3 episode, more so than a Boba Fett episode. But I guess since they started it, it's nice to get some closure on a couple things, That's all I'll say, so it's not too spoily yet.
The stuff that was in it was super cool. Like,
oh yeah, the whole episode was cool. It just, again, wasn't the Book of Boba Fett that we watched episodes 1 through 4.
Correct.
Or yeah, there's something interesting too here, and it may be director that plays the role in it, but 5 and 6 are like markedly different than 1 through 4 and 7, even though I haven't talked about 7 yet. Like, there's a notable difference in the way that the story's done and the way that the cinematography is done. Like, it's like you're watching a different series, like The Mandalorian.
Yeah, definitely.
Music's different. Like, the music's different. All of it. Yeah,
I know, and it makes me kind of feel like I know I'm going to get shit from people for saying this, but it makes me feel like Robert Rodriguez should never direct anything else Star Wars ever again.
I'd agree with you. I agree. Yeah, you're not wrong. So yeah, and this episode also continued Heather's bewilderment on what she was watching, and I just assured her, look, he's going to build the crew that's going to fight the syndicate. In order to do that, they're kind of bringing you back to what's going on with these different characters. So I was okay with it. I mean, I was fine with it. And like Paul said, everything that happened was cool. It just, my biggest complaint was that it wasn't Boba Fett, but it's fine. I mean, it built up to really cool shit. So we'll leave it there. Eric, do you want to start with the
It wasn't even like they did. So if you think back, like, the Justice League movie is a lot about Batman going to find, right? He's got to find Flash, he's got to find Aquaman, right? He has to go do that stuff. And then you get there, and then in the Snyder cut, you get this longer, like, oh, here's a little bit of Flash's life, here's what's happening. And then Batman comes in that scene and like, hey, by the way, we need you to go do this thing.
Right.
I thought that's what 5 and 6 could have been more of, right? Like a peek into what the Mandalorian's doing, and then he gets a call and he picks up, oh, hey, Boba, oh yeah, I'll be right there, right? And then and then go look at whoever else, and here's a little glimpse of what's happening for them, and then they get the call from Boba Fett, or he shows up at their thing, and he's like, hey man, I need you. Like, all right, let's go. They didn't even do that trope. It was just all Mando. Very cool stuff. Like that stuff, it answers a lot and fills in some blanks on some stuff, which I thought was cool, but yeah, not actually Boba Fett related.
Yeah, part of me wonders if what happened here was that they already had actors there, that played Ahsoka, that and the guy that's the body person for Luke. Obviously, it's not his voice, but some of those other things. It just makes me wonder if they had them and they wanted to knock it out and get this part of the story done, where eventually Grogu has to get reunited with Mando before they can start season 3, right? Or whatever the motivation was. It was just sort of like, hey, we got all these people here, let's just do this, and we'll sneak it into Boba Fett. Well, it's not very sneaky, but you know what I mean. We'll
Right.
squeeze it into the Boba Fett series, so it'll be done.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, we've already kind of gone down the path a little bit. Let's start with the episode. Either one of you guys want to start reading through some of this stuff?
Yeah, sure. We start off in Mos Pelgo with Cobb Vanth, who previously had the Fett armor, played by Timothy Oliphant. There is a Pike Syndicate, little group of spice runners, like 4 guys or something, in a speeder, doing a spice trade just outside the town. He, of course, gets in a little battle with them, ends up killing all but one of them. And he leaves that one alive on purpose to tell him to go deliver a message to the Syndicate, which is basically, there's not going to be any spice running here. Get your shit out of here. So he takes the spice from the guy before he leaves, and I think the guy says something like, it's worth more money than you made your whole life, and he's like, maybe I'll retire early then. But when the guy leaves, he walks over and just kicks it into the sand.
Kicks it over into the sand.
I don't know if it was me, but I didn't immediately in episodes, I don't know, 1 and 2 and 3, I didn't immediately get that spice was drugs, was like the Star Wars equivalent of drugs, like it's coke or heroin or whatever.
It clicked with me right away, but I think that's because of Dune.
Yeah.
The spice.
Yeah. For you, it's Dune. For me, it was the extended universe shit. It's out there. And Han Solo,
they do mention, I was gonna say, they do mention in some of the other, yep, exactly, spice mines at Kessel, and that's where he does the Kessel run, right? Because he's transporting illegal shit.
Yeah, but I just didn't, I don't know, I never put it together until that was drugs, right? And so we'll get into this later, like Boba Fett becomes you're not peddling that crap in my town guy. Like, I'm going to be a crime lord, but I'm not going to be that kind of crime lord.
Yeah, it's interesting. So they're obviously just trying to add in all the elements of a crime boss story that they promised, right? They made up these families, they've got the drug running, they've got different sects that want to fight each other and control different territories. So they're trying, but it still doesn't end up feeling very crime bossy even after it's all said and done.
It's like it's like the original Godfather, right? In the original Godfather, the families, Marlon Brando's as Vito Corleone is out there, and he's like, we're not going to do the drugs, it's going to bring too much heat and it puts too much on my judges and whatever. And the other families are like, there's a lot of money in this. And he's like, nope, we're not doing it. And then the other families do it behind his back, and it has that feel to it, right? Like, he's going to let the gambling happen and the other illegal stuff at what's her name's place.
Sanctuary.
Drugs are where he draws the line.
Yeah.
It's exactly what I was about to say too. It felt exactly like The Godfather.
Mm-hmm.
I think one other thing that, again, this may be a director problem in the long run, but for me, it just generally seems like it was difficult, is Star Wars is already like Western and sort of Japanese samurai shit mashed together, right? And you get the feeling of that definitely in The Mandalorian. It's very Western focused in that. But now here you're trying to do some Western shit, some samurai shit, and some crime lord Godfather shit, and put it all together in a short little 7 episodes. I'm not so sure that it all works together that well.
And you really only have 5 episodes. If you think about this story has 5 episodes. Because we talked about episode 5 yesterday where Boba's not in it at all. Right. And now in this one, he's in it for a minute, literally a minute. You really only have 5 episodes.
Yeah, I think the crime thing works here in the long run, like if they did multiple seasons of this.
Yeah, but will they? This is, we can't talk about it yet, but
it feels like it's just an in-between filler for Mando.
Right. So the thing that makes the really good mob boss movie stuff work, right, is there's always like a shit ton of politics happening in the background where people are backstabbing each other, and right, none of that happens here. It's just like you only get the perspective of Boba pretty much and Boba's little syndicate without being able to see what the other families are doing or anything, right? You're missing that element of a crime boss,
right,
piece.
Yeah.
Anyway, so where were we? So
he
kicks the spice over in the sand and sends the guy back, which he's very much going to regret later, to deliver a message they can't run spice. So then we cut to Mando. I think we're almost done with Tatooine this episode, but so we cut back to Mando. He's flying his Naboo starfighter into this forest planet or something like that. I don't know, it's a bunch of bamboo and stuff, to go visit Grogu, and he wants to give him that gift, which I don't think had been revealed to us what the gift was, but I'm gonna say it anyway. I'm gonna say it anyway. He gets greeted by R2-D2. R2 kind of makes him wait there, pretends like he shuts off. But you can see the Luke's Jedi school, which was referenced and shown briefly in the sequel movies, being built there by these androids or whatever. So Mando's made to wait there, and then we get to see Luke training Grogu while he's waiting. There's some different interesting things here, like Luke touching Grogu's head, and I know I'm jumping ahead just a little, but Luke touching Grogu's head so that he could recall his memories. Like, is that a fucking Jedi power? I'd never remember that one. I guess maybe it's just convenient.
No, I mean, kind of. I don't know. Who knows? Because it's so. Honestly, if you think about it, in most of the movies, the actual 3 trilogies, they barely touch on what all the Force powers are. So they can kind of do whatever the hell they want.
I'm with you. It's just,
I know there's like feelings and this and that, like you feel things in the Force, whatever. Kylo kind of tried to read Rey and Poe Dameron's minds at one point in Force Awakens, remember? So could it? Sure. Well, yeah.
Well, so here's what. It's fine. But here's what bothers me even more. Here's what bothers me even more about this is, what was the fucking point? So when we do that and we go through, all we get to see in the memory, and he's hinting like he had maybe been with Yoda before. He says something, this guy used to talk backwards like that. Do you remember somebody like that from back home? Or talking riddles, whatever he says. Yeah. And so then he does the flashback thing, but all we get to see in the flashback is him in a cradle or whatever, floating cradle, a hover cradle, what are they called? And there's 3 Jedi in front of him, and it's clearly Order 66, right? Because the clone troopers are killing the 3 Jedi that are sitting in front of him. And you can't even tell for sure where it is. It looks like it might be the Jedi Temple.
I definitely think it was.
Yeah, I'm not even sure. So good.
We discussed that in Mando, that he might have been around because he does use the Force here and there in Mandalorian. So we had discussed the fact that maybe he had been training and then, somehow got the fuck out of there. Who the hell knows? But you're right. The flashback kind of ends with them coming at him.
Yeah, coming at him, and then what, right? So what we get out of all that is basically just that Grogu was at some point with the Jedi before Order 66 happened. must have got maybe some limited training, although they make him look like a baby in that, and he would have been.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
At Order 66 time.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have been more than what, like 20 years old at that point, at the most. But I mean,
Right.
he still looks like itty bitty tiny, like he can't even talk. You know.
Yeah.
But
no,
anyway, so that's what we got out of that. Maybe that's a teaser for something that's coming later. But I was like, what? Why even show us this if you're not gonna like?
Well, I think they're going to explore it more later, but I guess we'll just jump around a little bit here. I think the reason they show you that flashback is to say, okay, he was definitely at the temple learning, or trying to learn, and when he's training with Luke, Ahsoka tells Luke, he's grown a lot, you've done well with him, and he said, I haven't really done much. He's remembering. So just kind of establishing the fact that he's already learned some of this shit and it's coming back to him. So all right, so
which is why he would have been able to do the stuff in season 1, right? With that rhino, whatever that thing was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Blocking the fire and all that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in theory, then he had whatever Mudhorn. It was a Mudhorn. He's had 20-ish years of training already. So he could potentially have learned as much as any moderately skilled Jedi, I guess. And he's just remembering. That's fine. I'll take it. So we cut back to Mando then, and Ahsoka shows up, walks through the forest. She's talking to him. She's basically trying to tell him that he shouldn't, meet Grogu face to face because it'll mess him up. The attachment thing, it'll screw up his training, and it's just not going to be good for him. Don't even let him see you. But then at the same time, she's walking him to Grogu, and so they finally hit the edge of a forest, and he can see him out in the field training with Luke, and that's the moment where she kind of convinces him, like, are you doing this for yourself or are you doing this for him? And he's kind of contemplating it, like, well, I thought I was doing it for Grogu, but maybe you're right. That's kind of where it lands, right? It's like, I just want him to have this. It's his right as a foundling. And she says, maybe he's a Padawan now, not a foundling. And I really wish his response would have been, maybe he's both. But he didn't say that.
Yeah, and we'll get more into that discussion at the end. But I do want to comment one thing here real quick. You get a lot more of Luke in this, right? As far as compared to what happened in Mandalorian. Compared to Mandalorian, the deepfake tech that they did here is like leaps and bounds already what they did. We are in scary fucking territory right now. Like, yeah, it's really good.
It's better than anything I've seen. And knowing that on top of it, they're using a completely different actor's face as a frame for the deepfake, right? But on top of that, the voice is not even stuff that Mark Hamill recorded. It's synthesized.
Right. That's the part, because at first I was like, his voice sounds a little weird.
He's credited in the episode, so I thought it was him.
Oh no, because it's still his voice. What they did was they used a like Eric said, like a synthesizer kind of program, right? It's this software that they collected years of Mark Hamill speaking in roles and audiobooks and this and that, and they put it together to say what they wanted, which is the reason why if you listen not even close enough, if you just listen to it, it sometimes sounds a little slow or not the right tempo for the scene or a little stilted. But outside of that, it was really good. Yeah.
So if you watch the Disney gallery, this for Star Wars Mandalorian, that little like behind the scenes thing or whatever that they have on Disney Plus. So there's a part in there where Jon Favreau talks about this technology or whatever behind this, and he says something to the effect of, what people don't realize is that Luke's voice isn't real. It's completely synthesized using an application called Respeecher.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And they don't even need to have Luke's like say they don't need to have a recording of him having said a particular word, because they just need like the phonetic sounds, like the syllables basically, and they can reconstruct anything. Yeah. So they have a lot of recordings of Luke, obviously, and how he says things or whatever, but a word isn't what they're synthesizing, right? It's like the BR sound or whatever, and then they put that together with the next sound that they need, and it makes it all smooth.
Yeah, it's crazy what they did. Which again, like I said, we're in really weird territory, and I'm impressed with what they did. And I got it because what they wanted was, because you could have Mark Hamill come in and read the lines and match it up to the face, right? But just like 25 years ago, my voice might have been a little different. He was younger back then. They wanted to get his younger voice.
Yeah, we can't have any Joker sounding Luke up in here. That's
right.
No, but the other thing is, and it works in the way that they've done it, but I mean, if you really think about it, or if you go back and watch it a second time like I did to write this up, I think you'll notice that his mannerisms, I mean, like the way they're portrayed in his voice, don't change. It's very like, he talks very mellow and smooth the whole time. Like there's no emotion to anything. So I mean, it kind of shows in that too, although for this Luke character who is now who's now, I mean, it makes sense for him to be like that, right? To just be calm and cool and whatever. So I mean, it works, but I think it's also noticeable to me that voice isn't in the scene. Like when you hear him talk and Ahsoka talk, for example, because they both talk to each other in a scene that's coming up, her voice like reverberates different, right? It sounds like she's out in the open somewhere, and his does not.
Right. So yes, that was the other thing. It sounds canned, which it is. But yeah. But overall, the effect is much better than the end of Mandalorian, and I was impressed with it in the Mandalorian.
I mean, it's better even than like the de-aging stuff we saw in what the hell is that mob movie we watched?
The Irishman.
Yeah, I mean, it was even better than that. And those are the actual people. Those are the actual people just de-aged. This is a completely different person with the whole deepfake face on top.
And you know what the funny thing is, though? I think it was after the Mandalorian, after they, Disney did that whole Skywalker scene, they went out to like the guys that have been doing the deep fakes on YouTube, like the Tom Cruise and all that shit, and straight up fucking hired them. Like, no, we need you to make this look right. So, if you can't beat them, pay them.
Right.
Yeah, there it is. I think that I mean, I agree. I think it's way better than it's ever been before. It's still not quite perfect, but at least visually, it is really, really convincing. And I think it doesn't have much more to go to get the audio. I mean, it's not even the synthesizer that's the problem. It's just, putting the sound around it so that it has the same sort of feel and reverberation as the scene does when everybody else talks.
I better get better.
It's more sound engineering than the synthesizer app, All right, so he does eventually agree that he doesn't need to meet Grogu, and he hands the gift still packaged in that little hobo thing to Ahsoka, and she's going to give it to him. It's not revealed till later in this episode, but we might as well talk about it. I mean, it's actually a tiny little suit of Beskar chainmail, which is cute, and it's exactly what I thought they were going to do with it.
Yeah. That's
I like the idea. So Mando leaves in his starfighter, and actually Grogu is. I skipped the training scene. This is like the most important thing.
Training scene was awesome.
Yeah. So there's a training scene montage that follows. And it is so close to the original Star Wars Dagobah training that he does with Yoda. I mean, down to like, Grogu's on his back and he's doing flips over rocks and through the water and jumping over creatures. Like, there's so many things that are, like spot on with it. The balancing training. Although this doesn't happen on Dagobah, but he gets out the little training, the little circle training or spherical training droid, which he played with on the Falcon when he was trying to learn how to use a saber. It was just so many references. It's like he's getting trained the same way Luke got trained, basically. I mean, like to a T.
Right.
And then there's a second thing after he pulls out the
watching him do
training.
those little flips when that thing shoots the laser at him, and watching him do little flips was adorable.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, and then there's that thing which is actually super reminiscent of Yoda fighting in the prequel movies.
Yeah,
when he's fighting Darth
Palpatine.
Sidious, Palpatine. Yeah, it looks just like what Yoda did, minus the lightsaber, of course. But yeah, I thought that was actually pretty cool. The whole thing, I was like, oh, that's like real fanfare, though. I mean, that's some real fanfare there. Like they set it up so close. It was like, oh, this feels really familiar.
Yeah, I thought it was really funny too. That initial scene of them meditating, and Luke sitting there with his eyes closed, and Grogu sitting there trying to use the Force to bring a frog over to him to eat it. And then Luke just opens his eyes and looks at him, and Grogu's like, "Okay, sorry," and then Luke just uses the Force to bring all the fucking frogs out of the little pond, and Grogu's like, and that was all like without saying a word. Like, look, focus on your training, and you can be more powerful.
You can get all the frogs.
Yeah, then you get all the frogs you want to eat. But yeah, it was a very simple way of showing him like you did this, but you could do this. So yeah, it was a really good scene. The whole entire training montage was great. I loved it a lot.
So then Mando is leaving in the Naboo starfighter. Grogu is on Luke's back and he sees it flying off, and he puts his hand out like he knew that Mando was there, and he was like, "What the fuck, man?"
Yeah, where you going, Pappy?
Yeah, so Mando heads back to Tatooine, to Jabba's palace. Fennec Shand is in there briefing his, I don't know, team of muscle, the mods and BK, and the Gamorrean guards. And then, she says
one more thing on the Luke training. One key element I caught out of that was really cool was when he's got that target droid, the training droid, and it shoots Grogu the first time, he gets leveled and he hits the ground, and Luke says, "Get back up. Always get back up." And I was like, that was really like, it was a cool moment because it's going to be a key training for this kid later on. So yeah. All right, guys. So now we're
so Fennec says, if there's an all-out war, basically they don't have enough people. They're going to need more muscle. So Mando pops in and says, "I've got an idea." So he heads off to Freetown, or to Mos Pelgo, Freetown, whatever, to find Cobb Vanth and try to get him and the Freetown fighters that helped kill the dragon to come back and assist. So Vanth does eventually agree to help him, as a favor. He says to Mando, "I don't owe you anything. We're square." And he's like, "Yep, you're right. But you're not the kind of person who would let this shit stand, right?"
Yeah, and eventually the war is going to come here.
Yep. And the drug trade's already there, which he knows. So yeah, so Mando leaves, and then the stranger from the desert arrives, the namesake of the episode, and it's Cad Bane. No surprise at this point why Dave Filoni was both a writer and a director on this episode, because he owns that character effectively, and it's been recurring multiple times in the cartoon series that he directed and produced. So Cad tells, that's what I was going to talk about too. So I saw a lot of complaints online about how he looks.
Yeah, me too. But what the fuck do they expect?
It doesn't bother me too much. I mean,
to me, he was. I thought he was close enough to the cartoon. I don't.
Right.
Cool. Like his face was too thin or too full or some shit like that, or.
And look at the cartoon. Yeah, exactly. And look at the cartoon styling too. Like look how Obi-Wan looks like Rebels. Like,
yeah,
he has a long face, Batman.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's not really that serious, but and there's a practical thing too, right? So doing that, because he does in the cartoon have a really small chin. Like his mouth is almost at the very bottom of his chin, right? Which is what the species generally looks like. But you have to put a real live actor in there now, and ideally, you don't want a fake mouth thing like
Right.
like the mayor has, right? So I think the way they did it made the most sense. And the
Yeah, it's
fucking
fine. And then if you actually look back, I saw a little YouTube clip talking about Cad Bane, and whatever his species is, I forget, but one appeared in the Mos Eisley Cantina in the background. He's one of the aliens in the background. Might not have been as blue, but he looks here closer to that than the cartoon, which
I think
is,
so, yeah.
I mean, it's fine.
Yeah, Duros is the species.
Duros,
by the
yes.
way. Yeah.
You know, I was thinking
Yeah.
that. I didn't want to be
I
wrong.
mean, you know, also just being practical here. I mean, he's 70 something years old at this point. Like, so what if he looks a little different than he did
Yeah.
20 years ago?
Oh, and Doros only live like 80 years or some shit. Like they don't live very long. Bless you. But yeah. So, but you know, Star Wars fans.
I know. I mean, people are going to complain about everything, and don't get me wrong, I complain about stuff too. But it's the folks that are like, you know, you've ruined it for me. Like, come on, seriously.
Yeah.
Like his mouth being an inch lower would have saved it for you. Like,
You ruined my childhood.
Yeah.
I don't think so. If anybody ruined anything, it was Robert Rodriguez. But anyway, we'll get to that.
Kathleen Kennedy. Whoops.
Ryan Johnson.
So Cad tells Vance, you know, basically he has to let the spice run through Mos Pelgo, and if he does, there won't be any trouble. He even offers to pay him to just not interfere, you know. So whatever Boba's paying you, which of course Boba's not paying him anything, but you know, he was like, we'll double it. Just let things play out, you know. And of course, Vanth is you know, the real good sheriff guy. He's like, nope, can't do it, not in my town. It's not gonna happen. And then this incredibly shootout at high noon fucking Western inspired thing happens. It is really done well, I think. Where it's
well,
like,
no, it's really done well because also it all happens because of his impetuous deputy, who we met earlier in the episode. He was giving Mando a hard time, and
they wanted him to move his starfighter. Like, you can't park here.
Yeah, and Vanth told Mando, "Look, sorry, he's new. He'll, you know." Basically, he's young, he's green. He'll get it eventually, but he won't. He pulls his blaster first, and
well, and it's the whole thing, right? Like, Bane is
when they
wearing
do
the duster, like he's wearing the long duster, and he sort of pushes it back, right? He's got the hat, and then he pushes one of the things back over his gun, and he kind of reaches, and then there's just a close up on the gun, and his hand's right there, and then Vanth is he's got his gun, and then they're looking around, and the street's even dusty, and then the deputy's all nervous, and the people tell him to go inside, and they all run inside. Like,
everybody goes in the saloon.
Yeah. Like, they did the whole thing really well.
Yeah, it reminded me of all the Western movies we grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
It was really good.
And the town is even set up right. So it's like one lane down the center of town with buildings on either side, which is the perfect you know, shootout alley.
Well, which is funny because that's what I thought of most Pelgo when we saw it in Mandalorian. It was like, it's like the typical, like where the other ones were more of a crappy little town. This was like an old West town. Like, you can kind of see it in
there's only one block of it, essentially.
Yeah. So the deputy panics and tries to take a shot at Cad Bane. For a guy who's supposed to be near the end of his life expectancy, this motherfucker is fast.
Yeah.
He whips his blaster out, shoots the deputy like 3 times, right? And
he shoots Vance first.
Yeah.
And then shoots the deputy several times before he ever even gets a shot off. Yeah. So the deputy dude is for sure dead. I don't think there's any question. I was wondering at the end of this if Vanth is dead. Something told me that's probably not the case, but one of the people does say, when they run up, I don't know if you guys hear it. It's just like a background actor or whatever. They say something's wrong with the sheriff. Like, he just got fucking shot. What do you mean something's wrong with him?
Well, and it looked like he took one in the shoulder, kind of.
Yeah.
The deputy gets like just
Oh yeah,
smoked.
he's wasted.
And they run out. They don't even. I don't recall anyone even tending to the deputy. They're just like, no, he's dead. And everyone's sort of gathered around Cobb Vanth.
Yeah. So essentially, Cad Bane shot the sheriff and he shot the deputy.
And he shot the deputy.
You're welcome. Sorry, it popped in my head. Don't delete me.
No, so yeah, it's that part was all very well done. I really like that. I mean, that is a perfect tribute to the sort of spaghetti western genre. Everything was done well there, and Cad Bane was obviously built on that trope of a sort of bad cowboy anyway.
Yep.
And he's always been like that. At one point, he had like a huge brimmed hat in the cartoons, although he lost that and got this smaller one, which is what he shows up with here. But he's just always been that character and that persona. So they did it really well, I think. So after that, we cut back to Mos Espa. There's a group of Pike Syndicate operatives going into the sanctuary, the I don't know, casino, strip club, whatever the hell it is that Boba owns in Mos Espa. And they sit down, they refuse service, and they've got this Camtono that they set on the table, and they shortly thereafter leave, and the Camtono is still there. You hear the C-3PO or whatever it is, droid.
Protocol droid, yeah.
Protocol droid say, oh, you left your Camtono. And the lady that runs the sanctuary, the madam, whatever she is, looks over, and then right there, it's over. Boom. Whole place blown out.
Whole place blows up.
Explosion gets 50 feet out the front door. So you got to kind of assume virtually everyone that was inside there is dead. Yeah.
Which is sad.
So that is a little bit sad. A little bit sad that they kill it off like that. I mean, well, we'll get into it.
She was doing good in the series. I liked her character. She played it up pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
But and it's a chick from Flash, so hey,
So then, before they close the episode out, we're back on the planet with Luke and Grogu. Luke offers Grogu a choice. He pulls out the little tiny armor set from Mando.
It's so cute.
It's so cute.
Yeah.
It's weird.
And then he pulls out a lightsaber, a small lightsaber, and he says this was Master Yoda's saber.
He says the Mandalorian was here, as you know, and he brought you a gift. And he lays it down. He says, "Now I'll give you a choice." And he gives him the whole speech about, Jedi has to forego all attachments and whatever. So I'll give you a choice. You can take this, and then he reaches into a case, and he pulls out a little lightsaber. And then go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, he tells him it's Yoda's saber, and then it becomes the choice, exactly like you said. So we have a juxtaposition here in that there's essentially two religions, right? The Jedi religion, which treats people like Catholic priests or something. You forego all attachment. You never have loved ones, children, any of that. You just, you do your training and become one of the Force, and you protect the universe or whatever. And then you got the Mando side. It's also in a sense, the Mandalorians also are very kind of religious in what they do, but for them, it's the exact opposite, right? Your family, your covert is everything, right? It's like the most important part. Him bringing on foundlings. In fact, every time they won a tribute or got a bounty or something, they brought it back to the covert and they gave a piece to the foundlings, right? The children that they didn't have by marriage or anything, but that have become part of their family by adoption, right? So it's a big part for them. And so it makes some sense that it's got to be one or the other, right? Because they're just totally opposing ideals. Now, of course, the Jedi religion is all but dead, and it's at this point whatever Luke wants it to be. So he could give some leeway here.
Well, yes, and here this was my one problem, and because I was going to say it's not one or the other, because Luke, having not too long ago fought the Emperor and his father and whatever, right? that entire fight and how he becomes a full-fledged Jedi is tied to his attachment and emotion to saving his father. So he actually proves all of that wrong. And even like Yoda, if you remember, he in the sequel trilogies, Yoda tells Luke, these next generations are going to be better than us and do things differently, right? Luke did that in Return of the Jedi. But then I think, and you, if they're going to touch on it at all or not, I hope they do, because it's an easy way to explain it is in Luke taking on this essential first pupil, he falls back on everything he learned from Yoda and Obi-Wan, which would be the forego all whatever, even though he knows better. You know what I mean?
Luke leaves training with Yoda because he's attached to Leia and Han. Like,
right.
He's like, I have to go help them. And Yoda's like, you can't leave your training because my friends need me.
Right. So everything about Luke is about his attachments.
Right.
So the fact that he tells Grogu that is contradictory to what we know about Luke. But again, if they address that later, like Luke just kind of like was trying to be a good teacher, but he was still new at it. So he just fell back on what he knew and what he was taught, then I can see that. But we'll get to that more later because we'll say, what does Grogu choose? Because the whole fucking thing ends.
So, the other thing too is that these two religions are sort of very structured and ancient, right? But there's like, as far as we know, three, I guess. No, two practicing Jedi remaining. I mean, as far as we know, right? I guess you could say three. But there's not really any left that do it, that know all the ins and outs of the religion or anything. And the Mandalorians are the same way, at least for the Orthodox group, right? You've got the armorer, Paz Vizsla, and I guess Mando, who still believes in it, even though they tossed him out essentially.
Yeah.
And we know that he's learning.
He's sort of excommunicated until he goes to
for having showed his face until he goes and gets rebaptized or whatever.
Yeah. And we like Eric and I would talk about it on a sidebar. We know that Mando, through his series, has been learning about other sects of Mandalorians, where the never show your face and this and that, whatever, is not that big a deal. So
I know. So
be learning a different way.
Yeah, well, that's my point here, is that essentially the only people that would matter and follow this religion, or the couple that exist, have the power to change it and do whatever the hell they want, right? They can take their own life experiences and say, well, fuck this, it didn't make a lot of sense. We're going to do it a little bit different now. And that could be what happens. Don't get me wrong. That could be what happens.
Yeah, I was about to say that. I think that's where Filoni and Favreau are taking this overall on both sides, that to just kind of make it what it's going to be, like you can just kind of do whatever you want with this religion and make it your own. And I think they're going to do that, but we'll find out. All right.
That would be a great, actually, this is out of scope here a little bit, but that would be a great Mando season 3 storyline to follow, right? Where Mando is certain he wants to go get rebaptized or whatever. He's going to try to find his way back to these caves in Mandalore, and he's going to realize at some point, this is stupid. I can live the life that I know is the good, bright life without doing all this dumbness. And that could be a point where him and Luke come back together and say, you know what? Let's do what's best for Grogu. And it's not to follow our 3,000-year-old religions to a T.
Change could be something he learns a little bit from Boba Fett, which could be the whole reason this damn series even started. This is Mando learns a little bit more about change. All right. So do we have anything else about this?
No, I mean, I think we covered most of it. Yeah. So we're left with what decision does he make? We don't know.
We don't know. Oh no. We shall find out, I guess. All right. Well, let us know what you think of this episode, and stay tuned for our review of episode 7, which is going to be right now. Well, not for you. You'll have to click another episode. But Like and subscribe, ring a bell. Like I said, comment, tell us what you thought, and how excited you are to see a better CGI Luke and baby Grogu flipping around. And hit us up at whatifgeeks.com, whatifgeeks@gmail.com, Instagram, Twitter, and all that happy shit. And we will see you soon. Good night, Tony.
Good night, adorable tiny Grogu armor.
Good night, deputy, forever.